Hey everyone, my name is Samantha Marcotte, and today I'll be discussing accessory structures. I will discuss hair follicles, hair, glands in the skin, as well as nails. First, I'll start off by talking about hair follicles and hair. Hair covers the majority of the human body and is formed in hair follicles. The exception to this are the soles in your feet, the palms of your hands, your lips, the sides of your fingers and your toes, as well as portions of external genitalia. 98% of your body hair is not on your head, believe it or not. Hair production is caused by hair follicles that will extend deep into the dermis and often into the subcutaneous layer. The epithelium at the follicle base surrounds by a hair papilla. The hair papilla is a peg of connective tissue that contains capillaries as well as nerves. The hair bulb consists of epithelial cells that surround the papilla. Hair production requires a specialization process of keratinization. In the process, daughter cells are produced, and this will happen when superficial basal cells divide. The daughter cells push toward the surface as part of the existing hair. Most hairs have a medulla and a cortex. The medulla will contain a soft keratin, whereas the cortex will contain a hard keratin, which is responsible for giving your hair the stiffness. A cuticle will coat the hair and is formed by a single layer of dead keratinized cells at the hair's outer surface. The hair root extends from the hair bulb and attaches the hair to the hair follicle. The part of the hair we see is known as the shaft. This part will vary in size, color, and shape, and it's all variable. The follicle is organized in concentric layers that include the hair cuticle, the internal and external root sheath, and the glassy membrane. They all have their own particular functions. I already described the hair cuticle, what it does, where it is. The internal root sheath is surrounded by a hair root and the shaft. The layer will end where the duct and sebaceous gland attach to the hair follicle. The external root sheath is the part where the layer extends from the skin surface and to the hair matrix. Lastly, the glassy membrane is the thickened basal lamina that's surrounded by dense connective tissue sheath. There are many functions of the hair in regards to the head specifically. One, the hair will protect the scalp from ultraviolet light. So going outside, being exposed to the sunlight, if your hair is covering your head, it's gonna protect it from sunburns, things like that. We all know ultraviolet light causes skin cancer, things like that. So hair on your body will protect that, especially on your head. It will cushion a blow to the head as well. So if you fall and you hit your head or something like that and you have hair, it's going to provide a cushion for that. Obviously it's not going to completely protect it, but it does help that impact of when you do have a blow to the head. As well, hair provides insulation to the skull. As you can see, I have a lot of insulation to my skull on my head. As for the eyes, your eyelash hairs have a root hair plexus of sensory nerves, and it's surrounded by a base of a follicle. The sensitivity of this will provide an early warning to the body and may help prevent an injury. So your eyes are always blinking, and not only are they doing this, but they're also blinking to get rid of, like, let's say a bug or something flies like near your eye, it's blinking and getting rid of it to like push it away from your eyes to protect it. And your eyes are constantly blinking, so they're super sensitive. They're being conscious of your surroundings around you, things like that, for this reason. There are 3 types of hairs. There are vellus hairs, which are also known as peach fuzz. These types of hairs are found all over the body. There are also intermediate hairs. So they change in their distribution. They're on your upper and your lower limbs, your arms, your legs. Lastly, there are terminal hairs. They are more heavy, they're more pigmented. They make up your head, the hair on your head, your eyebrows, your eyelashes, things like that. The color of your hair strongly is determined from your genetics. So what color does your mom and dad have? What about your grandparents? Things like that. It's all genetically determined kind of thing, right? It's also determined by differences in your hair structure and variations in the pigment production at the papilla. So your parents can both have brown hair, you have brown hair, you can have more of that pigment or less and have a lighter or darker color than them, things like that. The condition in which the hair is in also is influenced by your hormones. So if you have higher hormone levels, maybe your hair is more dry or something like that. And that also plays into environmental factors as well, that influence. If it's really humid outside, your hair is going to change, or if it's really dry, your hair is going to be dry and things like that. So there's lots of things that factor in. Having black or brown hair strongly depends on the density of the melanin at the hair cortex. So I mentioned earlier about the cortex and the medulla of the hair. That's what I'm talking about here is at the cortex, the density of the melanin will determine how dark or light your brown or black hair is. Having red hair depends on if there's a presence of the biochemically distinct form of melanin. As you get older, you generally start to get gray hair, which means there's a high decrease in that pigment production. You may see older people have white hair as well. This is also why, but there's an extra reason that kind of combines with it. If there's air bubbles at the medulla of the hair, it will cause that white hair to occur instead of gray. The hair in the scalp will grow for approximately 2 to 5 years. The root of the hair is attached to the matrix of the follicle. When the cycle is finished, the follicle is inactive at that point and is called a club hair. In males, changes in sex hormones in the blood, it can affect the scalp. So this can cause a shift from the terminal hairs, so what we generally have on our head and eyebrows and eyelashes, to vellus hairs, which is that peach fuzz. So this is then termed male pattern baldness, which I'm sure all you males out there do not want. There are 2 types of glands in the skin. I wrapped up hair. That was all information I had on it. I'll be talking about glands in the skin now. So there are 2 types of exocrine glands, sebaceous and sweat glands. So first I'll discuss sebaceous glands. Well, they discharge a waxy, oily secretion into the hair follicles. The gland manufactures large quantities of lipids. These lipids will enter the open passageway of the gland. Once the erector pili muscle elevates, the hair, due to contraction, it will force away secretion into the follicle and onto the skin surface. This is called a sebum. So it gives lubrication, as well as it will inhibit bacterial growth. So it's just a defense mechanism for the body. Sweat glands are distributed in 2 different types of sweat glands. They break off into the apocrine and the merocrine, and they have their own similarities and differences. Similar, the 2 glands, in that they both contain myoepithelial cells. The apocrine glands will release secretions into hair follicles in the armpits, around the nipples, in the groin areas. They produce a viscous, cloudy, odorous secretion, and they're responsible for pheromone production as well. The merocrine glands are all over the body. There's a high amount in your palms of your hands and the soles of your feet. They secrete a discharge on the skin surface, which is known as sweat. We all know what sweat is. I mean, we work out, we sweat. That's because of the merocrine glands. a really crazy fact I found out just doing my research is that sweat is 99% water, and I'm like, I can't believe 99%, like that's unreal. It also is made up of electrolytes, metabolites, and as well as waste products. So again, another way for your body to excrete, it's getting rid of those waste products and things like that. So so the functions of sweating, you all may think you might think, oh, sweat's for burning calories, burning fat, things like that, but there's a lot more to it. There's thermal regulation, so the sweat functions in cooling the skin surface and reduces your body temperature. Excretion, as the sweat will provide a significant excretory route, as I was just discussing, for water, electrolytes, prescription and non-prescription drugs, for protection as well. So your sweat will provide protection from environmental hazards by diluting harmful chemicals. So let's say you're near a strong chemical and you spill it on yourself, the sweat will allow that to excrete and get rid of it, dilute it down, kind of thing, because there's 99% water. That's how you dilute, right? So which is awesome, and it will protect by also inhibiting the growth of microorganisms. So these glandular secretions are turned on or off by the autonomic nervous system. Other integumentary glands will include your mammary glands. So in us women especially, there are these are related to the apocrine sweat glands, the ceruminous glands, which are modified sweat glands in the external auditory canal, so in your ears. They are different. They have a larger lumen than the Marcotte glands that I was talking about earlier. They contain a pigment granules that have also liquid droplets. So your earwax is the prime example of this. In the auditory canal, your earwax is that modified Marcotte sweat gland that will get rid of bacteria that may have entered into the auditory canal and things like that. So lastly, I'll talk about nails. I don't have too much information on them, but they are as well as an accessory structure as all the rest. They will protect your exposed tips of your fingers and your toes. They help limit the distortion when it's going through mechanical stress. So if you're picking up something and it's hard on your nails, or if you slam your finger, things like that, stub your toe, as we've all done, the nail will provide protection. The nail body will cover the nail bed. The nail protection occurs at the nail root. The nail body, it's recessed in the beneath level of the surrounding epithelium, which is bounded by nail grooves and nail folds. So when you slam your finger and your nail's ready to fall off, it's the grooves that are coming undone, and then your nail has to regenerate. That's all I have on nails. I will go through a brief conclusion of everything that I discussed, and then I will discuss how to do this learning activity that I have for you guys. It's going to be fun. So my conclusion, so we talked about the accessory structures, we talked about hair and hair follicles, and how they provide protection to the head, the eyes, as well as the body. We talked about the two exocrine glands, so the sebaceous and then the sweat glands, and the sweat glands branched off to the apocrine and Marcotte. We briefly talked about the mammary glands, the ceruminous glands, and we talked about nails. Collectively, these structures work together to promote protection to our bodies, as well as a non-microbial environment. So we may not think, we might just think little of these things, but together they truly protect our body in more ways than one. That's all I have on accessory structures. I thought I would create a crossword puzzle. I love crosswords personally. I learn well from them by learning terms and learning definitions and things like that. So on the next slide, I'm going to provide a link to a crossword where you can test your knowledge on the presentation today and see how well you remember this stuff. I can't wait to see everybody else's videos. Good luck. I hope we do awesome. Yeah, thank you for watching. Have a great day. Bye. Oh, and happy Canada Day.